Southern Africa. It's a warm welcome to you. Also, if you are further afield in the diaspora, as always, on my side, I can say it's always a pleasure to spend this evening with you, sharing information about our products and our business, because this is what we do best and this is what we actually enjoy doing. So if you are in my frame of mind, it's always a pleasure to spend this time in training because as a result of our interactions, I often am able to hear of what you are experiencing and hearing in your own business. And I too am able to share what coming across, what I'm learning and what I'm experiencing. So just to welcome you and hope that you are going to find the session beneficial for yourself as well as for your business and for your circle of influence. As you might have seen in your invite for today's training, my session is going to be about eye health. And I must once again thank the distributors who are always very kind to point out areas where we can maybe talk about in our training, because this is one such an example, and I'm quite appreciative of it. I always recommend that if you see an area where maybe we have failed to touch on in our training, feel very free to recommend that we touch on any topic that you see as having been misrepresented, or maybe it has been forgotten and not included in our cycle. So without further ado, just like to introduce our today's topic by saying that our eyes are marvelous organs. They are actually part of our brains, which was squeezed out from the cranium, the skull, and are now actually at the front of the skull. And whereas we have many marvelous organs in our bodies, I think the reason why we find the eyes so marvelous is that we can actually see them and we can experience quite directly what they do, because through our eyes, we are able to collect information from our environment. Through that information, we are able to determine our place in space. We are able to tell the time of day to a certain degree, and so on. So there's a lot of information that comes to us through our eyes. And in fact, our eyes themselves can actually be a source of information, because a lot of non-verbal communication can take place using just our eyes. Then I want also to mention there that our eyelids are an important part of our eyes, because they are not only protective. The blinking reflex is, I think, the fastest reflex we have in our body. That is, it's the reaction that is quickest in our bodies. And you've noticed if something is coming towards your eye, you will blink very fast, and a lot of time your eyelids close before something touches your eye. In addition to the protective action of our eyelids contain different kinds of glands. There are glands that produce what we call tears, which is a watery fluid that cleanses our eyeballs. And there are other glands that produces an oily material which lubricates our eyes. And that is why our eyes, we are able to blink and move our eyes quite smoothly without any friction. And you'll notice if there's an irritation on your eye or there's an injury on your eye, you will be very sensitive to it. Yet when the eye is okay, our eyes move around in the eyeballs and between our eyelids without any problem. So moving on from there, those are a bit of information about our eyes. Then just to look at some of the dangers to our eyes and our eyesight. Of course, as Neolife distributors, we are always interested in nutrition. And therefore, my first point would be to say that poor nutrition is one of the dangers to our eyesight. We know that right from when the mothers are expecting their children, we are recommended to take a good, healthy diet that is going to ensure that the brain and therefore the eyes develop well. So things like junk food, highly refined foods do not contribute to eye health and actually can be detrimental over time to our eyes and eyesight. In addition to that, harmful substances like cigarette smoking, as well as excessive intake of alcohol, can actually be detrimental to our eyes and our eyesight. In addition to poor nutrition, we would also want to add light. We know that our eyes are the organs that actually receive light, but habitual exposure to harsh glaring light can actually contribute to eye problems such as cataracts and migraines. Some migraine headaches come from excessive strain to the eyes. Also, a habit of sleeping with lights on can not only diminish the quality of our sleep, but it can also increase our chances for having a deteriorating eyesight. Therefore, it is important, especially we know that sometimes little children are afraid of sleeping in dark rooms. But it's important for us as parents to train the child to learn to stop being afraid of the dark and to get in the habit of sleeping in a dark room in order to have a good foundation for their long-term eyesight. Because research has found that children who sleep with lights on or with a night light on have got a higher chance of developing eye problems later in life. So light is, of course, important for sight, but we need to be careful about the light, especially those of us who live here in Africa. Certain places, the light can be very harsh and glaring. If we are spending long periods in such light, it is useful to actually use darkened glasses in order to prevent habitual exposure to glaring lights, which can contribute to a deterioration in our eyesight. Of course, also exercise. Our eyes have their own exercises. Some of them are inbuilt, like blinking, but blinking is very important. We are supposed to blink a certain amount of time per a certain period of time. And this is because by blinking, we cleanse as well as lubricate the surface of our eyes. And this ensures that our eyes are in good working condition. So if we notice that we are in the habit of staring and not blinking, maybe we can be deliberate about it and make a habit of blinking periodically. This happens, for example, if we are concentrating on screen work, we might end up in the habit of not blinking often enough. So blinking is an important exercise for the eye. And then focusing close and far. So our eyes are supposed to be able to focus at the distance that is far off and also close up. But in these days, when a lot of our work takes place in screens that are handheld or close up to us, if we spend long periods of time doing screen work, we should be in the habit of taking breaks so that we don't focus too close for too long. Otherwise, we may find that over time, the lens within our eyes, which is one of the parts of the eye that makes it possible for us to see, will become less flexible, and we may have an eyesight problem. Either, for example, a short sight can develop if we are always working very close to a screen or reading with a book very close. So it has been noticed actually that all over the world, the problem of shortness of sight has become quite common. And this is because children start using screens and books at a very early stage. And sometimes they don't spend enough time outside. Maybe they live in an apartment, so they don't get an opportunity to focus far off. And that way their eyes are almost always focused too close. This leads to that problem. Also, of course, as we grow older, our eye lens can also lose its flexibility, and we may find that we are no longer able to see things which are close. And that is why sometimes as we grow older, we may develop long sight and need glasses to read, or to need prescriptions of glasses in order to help our lenses to work better. Another exercise for eyes is following movements. So our eyes are supposed to be able to track movement smoothly. So for instance, if a bird is flying and swooping to the ground, we are supposed to be able to follow that movement quite smoothly, and we are able to turn our eyes from side to side smoothly and see things which are on the periphery of our eyes. So if we don't get opportunities in our day-to-day life to do this, we should actually make a habit of a few minutes a day to just exercise our eyes by moving our eyes side to side, up and down, following the movement of something, so that we are able to do that movement following by using our eyes. That is, we don't have to turn our head, it's just to move to follow something with our eyes, so that our eyes retain that ability to follow things. So these are some of the exercises which sound a bit odd for the eyes, but when we consider how important our eyes are in our lives, I think we would want to be deliberate about trying to assess whether we blink frequently enough, whether we make a habit of focusing far away and close by. Maybe if we are able to take an opportunity to go for a walk, we can, instead of looking at our phone the whole time or stare or maybe being preoccupied, we can deliberately look around us to focus our eyes on different points, far off and nearby and so on, just to keep our eye muscles able to work at their optimum. Then apart from that, we have got certain other certain illnesses that actually contribute to a diminishing of our eyesight and the workings of our eyes. And the first of these that I want to mention is diabetes, which is when our body is not able to undertake sugar metabolism well. So we have variously talked about diabetes and pre-diabetes. And one of the effects of these conditions is to cause sight impairment and blindness. In fact, I think that diabetes is number 2 in the causes of of blindness today. And this is because diabetes and the problems with sugar metabolism can actually lead to damage to the retina. So the retina is the part of the eye that contains the cells which are sensitive to light. So the cells in the retina actually are the ones that receive light. And so these cells receive, organize, and send visual signals through the optic nerve, the eye nerve, into the brain. So they are very important for our ability to see. And what happens with diabetes is that it tends to cause damage. Excessive sugar seems to cause a certain deterioration in the quality of the retina cells and their ability to perceive light. In addition to that, diabetes has been linked to a condition called glaucoma. So glaucoma is when pressure builds up inside the eye. So it is important for us on our personal capacity and also in our position as people who seek to educate others, to let people who are living with diabetes or pre-diabetes to know the importance of resolving this illness, because it has got a lot of detrimental effect, of which I think some weeks ago we spoke about its effect on the kidneys and kidney damage. And now we add on to that eyesight and eye damage is another one of the effects of diabetes. So because we have products and information that can help to resolve diabetes, I think that we should make sure that we pass this information on to those we come across. Maybe if we have got clients or family members who are living with diabetes, we should encourage them to really make an effort to make the lifestyle and dietary changes that will help them to resolve diabetes and normalize their sugar metabolism. Then a second illness which can contribute to the deterioration of our eyesight and eyes is high blood pressure. So high blood pressure can lead to damage to the small blood vessels that supply the eyes. And when these blood vessels are damaged, there can be small blood leakages into the eyes, and this can actually lead to fluid collecting on the retina, and cause distortion in our eyesight. So high blood pressure, another one that can also contribute to glaucoma, the buildup of pressure in our eyes. And this means also when we have high blood pressure, there can be a reduction in the flow of blood to the optic nerve or damage to it. And this can all lead to progressive loss of vision or deterioration of the functioning of our eyes. So high blood pressure, another condition that we are always talking about in our training, because we have the products that can help a person who is diligent to actually normalize their blood pressure by taking the relevant supplements, as well as by making the informed lifestyle choices that will enable them to normalize their blood pressure. So it is unfortunate that sometimes people become very comfortable. They go monthly for their medication for blood pressure, not realizing that the damage is going on even as they are staying comfortable with their routine of taking medication and not taking steps to normalize that blood pressure or that diabetes. So, of course, we also know that high blood pressure can be the precursor or the indicator of other problems coming down the line, things like strokes. And the strokes can sometimes be associated with damage to the eyes because of the close proximity between the eyes and the brain. And so, again, just to recommend that we keep people informed that high blood pressure is not something to take lightly and just to take medication on and on, but to actually take the medication, but at the same time, take the steps to resolve the problem so that the need for medication will eventually be reduced. And in some cases, people are actually able to go off the medication, but always, of course, working hand in hand with the medical practitioner under whose care they are. Then another area is eye strain. So eye strain is when we overfocus, as I said, in very close work, staring at screens or reading for long periods or using very bright blue lights, especially at night. These can all lead to strain in our eyes that can deteriorate our eyesight. Then finally, I wanted to mention the use of makeup, especially for us ladies who use makeup such as mascara, eyeliner, and false eyelashes. These can actually be problematic if we are not careful with cleansing, because what happens is that the substance used to make the makeup can block the glands that I said are in our eyes that lubricate the eye surface. And once those glands are blocked, there can be infection and there can also be dryness of eyes. And this dryness of eyes can actually lead to blurry vision and steady loss over time of the acuteness of our eyesight. So if we are users of makeup, we should be very careful about cleansing. And you know that in our Neolife nutrients range, we have got excellent cleansers that ensure that we do not end up with a problem such as this. Then let me move on now to the supplements that from our range that we'll recommend for eye health. Number one is omega-3 salmon oil, which prevents inflammation and all over the body and including the eyes. And we can also add to that carotenoid complex, which is a group of antioxidants that protect the eyes from free radical damage. If you can imagine that our eyes are so hard working, they work the whole day continuously, then there's going to be a lot of oxidative stress on the eyes. And carotenoid complex as a family of antioxidants will help in protecting our eyes from degeneration. And personally, we have had very good results of people who are struggling with the progressive eyesight loss due to cataracts. By good usage of carotenoid complex, they are able to arrest and reverse this problem. This also includes, if they take it preventatively, macular degeneration, which is another age-related eyesight loss. And this can sometimes run in families. And if there's a family history of macular degeneration, it would be important to preventatively start using carotenoid complex in such a case. Then the third one is vitamin B complex, which protects the eyes, again, from degenerative conditions. Again, there we are including things like cataract and macular degeneration, but also the general health and functioning of the eye is enhanced by members of the vitamin B complex families. Then we'll add there chelated zinc, which helps in healing any internal injuries that might have been experienced by our eyes. This can usually be, let's say, as a result of irritations due to allergies and maybe even sometimes injuries. So chelated zinc would be helpful there. And lastly, I would add vitamin C, which is very useful in maintaining the health of the eye tissue, because you'll remember that vitamin C is always working in healing membranous parts of our body, those thin skins, the thin membranes that are in various parts of our bodies. The vitamin C is always working in maintaining the health of our membranes. And of course, in our eyes, we have got quite a number of membranous tissue. So vitamin C is the last one I'll add there. Then in the few minutes I have left, I also want to mention some of the lifestyle habits that can support a healthy eyes. This include including in our diet pink fish and seafood, for example, salmon, shrimps, crayfish, and so on. Then the yolks of eggs are also rich in nutrients that support eye health, as well as sweet potatoes and carrots. You'll remember as you are growing up, probably you are told that carrots are important for eye health, and this continues to be true even as the years pass. So we include those. Then healthy fats, very important for various needs in our bodies. And this includes things, eating fruits like avocado, using oils like ghee and olive oil. These are better choices of coconut oil, better choices of oils than the factory oils. Then another habit to support our healthy eyes is to spend between 1 and 3 hours in sunlight. This is especially important for growing children and adolescents to avoid developing short sight later in life. So the time spent in the sun and in focusing near and far will be useful in training the muscles that control various parts of the eyes to function well. So quite a number of studies has been done with this for children, and they have established that a minimum of 1 to 3 hours is essential. And this I want to especially emphasize in cases where we see that children maybe don't go out to play because they have got very long school hours, and when they come, they have got lots of homework and so on. We as parents and distributors should actually make an effort to indicate to people we meet the importance of this time spent by growing children outside. Then to eliminate junk food, as I had said before, junk food can lead to all the various illnesses, and our eyes are not excluded from the damage that junk food does. Then taking breaks from close work is important. If you're a person who works at a screen, to take a break, maybe to walk around and look outside if that is possible, or simply to step away from the workstation and take a few moments every so often when you're working on a screen or reading for long periods. Then an additional thing that we can add there is you can buy one of these eye charts that they use for eye testing and keep it in your house or in your office or classroom if you maybe have got concerns about deteriorating eyesight. This will be a way to remind you to assess how well you can see by trying to read that chart from various distances. And this will keep you alert as to whether you or your children or family members are deteriorating in your eyesight. Because what we find is sometimes people are surprised by how quickly they notice that their eyesight is deteriorating, and before they even realize it had been deteriorating, it already becomes a serious problem. So I think that this is something that can be bought at a bookshop, it would be a useful addition to our lifestyle, that we keep an eye on how healthy our eyes are working and how good our eyesight is. So I think I incorporated there some of the questions about eyesight. So we mentioned macular degeneration, which can be caused by leakage of fluid to the light-sensitive parts of the eyes. This can be as a result of damage to blood vessels that then leak small amounts of blood that can then damage these sensitive parts of the eye. And to mitigate against this, we recommend carotenoid complex, vitamin C, and omega-3 salmon oil. If there is maybe damage as a result of some external injury, we would also include chelated zinc to help with the healing process. Then for cataracts, which can be linked to aging, it can be linked to diabetes, and it also runs in the genes of families. So if you have a family history, maybe from a parent, relative, or a relative, then it's good to take precautions. So carotenoid complex would be what we recommend, vitamin B complex, as well as omega-3 salmon oil. Then for short sights, as I mentioned, we recommend spending some time outside in the sun to help with eye health, to take those eye exercises, and also to add to that, we can supplement with vitamin A plus D, especially as I've said before, we have a limited exposure to sunlight.